Welcome back to the Luckbox Podcast. I'm Sujoy Roy, and I'm joined here by Paul Chaloner, Redeye.
How you doing, mate?
Good to have you back. It's been a few weeks, actually.
It's been a little while.
You've been travelling the world again. You've been to Kuala Lumpur. You've been
Hamburg, Copenhagen,
all over the place.
Turkey.
I've had a few stand-ins while you've been away.
Have you?
Have
they been up to the task? Have they been eating the desk? Have they been hungry? Have you fed them?
I've been dialing them in. So
Have you?
I've been sitting here alone, and I've been talking to a guest on there.
Genius guru.
It is beautiful. Killer Pigeon came on.
Really?
I really love that guy.
Okay.
I love the new talent in Dota because they're so enthusiastic.
Yes. My issue with all of them is that they need to keep that going.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're like, it's easy the first 6 months, 9 months when you're starting to get new gigs, and every gig you get is a better gig than you previously got, and then suddenly you're in a stadium, and then it's an arena with 4,000 people, and then suddenly you're in a stadium with 15,000 people. How to keep that going then when you get the knockback? Because it is a bit like that, right? I talked to Smoothie yesterday, and Counter-Strike player. He's suffering a crisis of confidence right now. Really struggling with his game.
Well, he had a high, didn't he?
He was brilliant at the major, and then now he's struggling. And that's, for me, that's what talent and players go through. Like, it's like you do that, and then you do that, and then you go down a little bit. But you don't go down as far as you were before, and then you go back up again, and then you level off again because you get too over, and then you go down a little bit. But generally, the climb is still positive, right?
Yeah.
Talent goes through that same thing.
Well, I was quite glad because Toby was back commentating again in Kuala Lumpur, and it was really good to hear him. And he felt more energized, and there was more of the original Toby, like the excitement and just like a kid at Christmas, with all this action going on.
I mean, they're all like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all like that, but I think I hate moaning about my job because I love my job, and I think we're very privileged to do it. But there is an element of fatigue that sets in. I've done 26 events this year. I've been on the road for 220 days of the year. As in, like, I've been out of the country for 220 days this year.
26 events?
Yes.
That is ridiculous.
And that's not the most. There are people out there who have done more than 30 through the year. Wow. So it is a lot of work, and it is very tiring doing all of that work, and mental fatigue does definitely, set in. And I think Toby, one of those guys, same as me, he suffers from that too, same as everyone else does. So when he has a little bit of time off and then goes back to it, I think you get that renewed energy.
I could hear it. Yeah. It was just really good to listen to him broadcasting.
How are you?
I'm good.
You've been on holiday.
I've been on holiday, so I've come back to gloomy London. It's actually not that.
It's not bad today. No, it was the last couple of days though. I was up here on Wednesday. Yeah. And I was in Birmingham on. Oh, I've gone down now.
Sorry.
What are you
was
doing?
too loud for me.
Was it?
I'm adjusting.
You're turning me down.
Fine.
I went to Birmingham Monday, Tuesday, and it was very grey. It was proper grey brum. You know what I mean? That hazy rain that kind of just sits in your clothes but isn't really rain. And then I came up here on Wednesday to London, same thing. Gloomy, grey skies, bit of rain. It was just like, this is really bad. And then it's cold as well, so you're like, that's probably why I've got my flight jacket on. Right? I've gone full Thorin.
But come on, we're not gonna sort of rest on that depressive weather and anything, because there's exciting stuff going on. There's a lot of controversy going on, actually.
There is.
And we really need to talk about this, and it's going to be a Dota focused show because there's so much happening actually.
What a surprise, 2 Dota fans, and this is a Dota podcast. What do you know?
I had Thorin on actually.
Did you?
A couple of weeks back.
How is the old boy?
Oh yeah, it's good to see him again. Yeah. The thing is though, sorry, I'm going to go back to
it's okay.
He's someone we grew up with in esports, and I felt like I knew him well. But then, because at a distance, I watch him on Counter-Strike doing analyst panels and doing some amazing stuff for esports on the Counter-Strike side. And I was like, is he the same guy though? And then when we sat here together, it was just brilliant because it's still Duncan, and we're still having a laugh and joke, and it's good to see.
I mean, he has some strong opinions, but he also has a persona that people expect from him. I think now, he's fat. Like we've spoken about this before. I think James Harding Too Good said to me once, he can't do a show the way I do a show. He can't do that straight kind of professional ESPN sports style. He can't do that because he's been pigeonholed in such a way that people expect him to be loud and leery and obnoxious and edgy and what have you. So he has to stick to that. Even if he didn't want to do that, he has to stick to that kind of. Likewise, my fans would suddenly look at me, and if I started being edgy and cracking all these weird and wacky jokes and being as wacky as James does, people would look at me and go, what the hell is he doing? Where's this straight edge professional sports style host got? So we've all ended up being pigeonholed into the role that our fans think we should do, right? And Thorin is no different to that, and more polarizing than probably most people.
I guess
in
he has
as
to
well.
be abrasive now. There's no way out of it.
No, this is what his fans that he has that support him via Twitter and YouTube and everything else that he makes money from. That's where it comes from, right?
Well, I touched upon this with Thorin because we spoke about it. We'd already had the controversy with Skem and Kuku.
Yeah.
Essentially, first of all, it was Kuku in an actual game.
Yeah.
Dropped a racial slur against the Chinese, and he was playing against RNG, I believe, a Chinese team. So this was actually in a game where he dropped a racial slur. And later on, Skem, I believe, was in a public game.
I thought it was the other way around, but I could be wrong. I thought Skem was at DreamHack.
Okay, flip it around.
Yeah,
then.
I thought Skem was during the DreamHack.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And I mentioned it to Thorin, but it's all continued to blow up. This is the thing.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like a huge thing at the time, but it's
do you
just...
not think? I thought it... I mean, I think we were in Kuala Lumpur at the time, just after it had blown up, and I spent some time with Matt from Secret. We were discussing it, and just generally discussing how bad it was, and what a poor show from some of the players, but also the fact that these kids are kids.
Yeah,
they are young. They will make mistakes, and that doesn't. We're not condoning it, but they will make mistakes. And where's the help? Where's the education?
The guidance.
Yeah, where's the guidance? Where's the strong hand? And there isn't one. And so as much as the team, I'm not criticising the teams for it. I think the teams have they have a responsibility to help the players, but they can't be watching them 24/7. There is an element of they have to let them out there and make these mistakes themselves. So it's very difficult, and it's always difficult, isn't it, when we're talking about racism, because it's a sensitive subject, right? In the sense that people that care about it are worried about saying the wrong thing, right? I know I have been in the past. I have plenty of friends in this world that are from all sorts of different backgrounds and religions and skin colours. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. It doesn't make any difference to me. If I like someone, I like someone. If I don't like someone, I don't like someone. It's nothing to do with who they are. It's normally because they're an arsehole, and I don't think that arseholism is a thing. So we're cool, right? But
that's universal, actually.
Yes,
you can get arseholes
absolutely right.
The world.
But the point I'm trying to make is that whilst we're all sensitive to it, it's a different perspective that you and I have, for instance, as 40-year-old people, right? We've gone through a bit of life. We're talking about young people who are 16, 17, 18, who are suddenly thrust into the limelight. Massive community. We sometimes forget how big we are as an esport. We're one of the top-tiered esports in terms of viewership, in terms of prize money, in terms of teams and what have you that we have coming in Dota. And we thrust these kids in front of everything, right? And we expect them to just act professionally and know everything they're supposed to know. Mm-hmm. And you've got to take into account that they come from backgrounds which often aren't educated, and sometimes are from countries and areas in the world which haven't reached the same level of understanding of language and use of language. And don't forget, it's their second language too. So I think a lot of that got forgotten in all of this, and it just became an East versus West thing, which frankly I hate. I've got ton of Chinese friends. I've got a ton of Asian friends out there. I love going back to these countries and spending time in these countries, and it upsets me greatly that we've become divisive.
Yeah,
this is one of those weirdest things in my time in esports, because I've literally practiced for the last 15 years the fact that I love... Part of why I love esports is because of its inclusion, and because it's able to transcend boundaries and countries and religions and races, and I love that, right? I love the fact we can just forget about all of that and just be shit talking each other if we're feeling like if you and I playing 20 years ago against each other on a server. I didn't know where you were from, what your background was. All I knew is you were kicking my ass and I didn't like it, right?
And I had a lower ping, and
you had a lower ping, of course, because you were an LPB. But yeah, and that's what we should be talking about, isn't it? It's the competitive side of it, not why have we got all this other crap going on? So I don't know.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is why I say it didn't seem like a big deal, because what should have happened was someone should have just said, "What an idiot! punished properly,
Yeah.
chastised, dealt with. And you wrote a column all
Yeah.
about this as well, which
Yeah,
is
no,
on
I agree with that.
Luckbox.com, by the way. go check it out if you feel like reading it.
That's a good Phil advert. I like that.
But here's the thing: it developed from something which should have just been stopped to growing into this huge cancerous body. Because you're right, it's pitched. It's pitched.
Did it?
East
I
versus
think
West.
it was bigger than we thought, because I think, as I said, I've got a lot of Chinese friends, and a lot of them messaged me straight after this happened, said, "I'm appalled by this. This is disgraceful," and I agreed, because that is. You don't want that, right? We don't want that involved. So I think it's very difficult for Western fans to appreciate how big a drama this was for some of our Chinese friends. Right?
Okay.
For them, this was exceptionally offensive. Exceptionally offensive.
Yeah.
Now, whether you agree with that level of offensiveness or not, or you understand it, surely you can have some empathy for a group of people that have been
No, you're right.
victimised, right? So I don't. It doesn't matter what the intent was or whether Skem understood fully what he was saying. It doesn't. Leave that aside for a moment. The fact is, these people were offended, right? This group of people, this group of passionate Dota 2 fans that are thrilled that TI is coming to their country, that they've got majors, they've got all these great players and great teams. They're very passionate. And also, let's also take a step back and go, what is it about Chinese people in particular, as a group of people, that make them like that? Well, nationalism is probably one of those things. And if you talk to Chinese people, you understand they're very proud of their nation. And they're taught that at a very young age. So a lot of this is about education and understanding where they're coming from. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't say they've overreacted, or you should feel like you don't understand why they've reacted that way. Sure, that's no problem. But educate yourself. Don't just slander it all off and say all Chinese people are making a meal of this. They're not. They were genuinely offended by this. So let's take that into account.
That's fair.
But then let's look at the other side of it and say the education is true as well, right? We have to educate these young people. They're going to be travelling worldwide. They're going to be going to different countries. The point at which I got really upset about all of this is that I agree with you, right? I think it was a bigger deal than most people thought it was initially, because people didn't take Chinese fans seriously enough. There's the first point. The second point is when they did realise, oh shit, actually this is bigger than we thought it was, punishment was handed down. Right? Teams punished their players.
Too late.
A little bit too late, but they still got punished, and the apologies weren't, in my opinion, they weren't strong enough, but they did apologise. So there's some halfway houses there, effectively, that they probably should have gone a bit further and probably should have acted sooner. Fine, so mistakes were made. Let's just call it that. It's mistakes are made. Now we've got TNC coming out afterwards and saying now they're going to take money from the team winning money at the next major. No, hold on a minute. Now we're going too far. Like, I don't think you need to go with that. You've punished them.
Yeah,
right?
so they
Move on.
released. They made a release saying this is the punishment.
Yeah.
For Kuku, I
Yeah.
take it. Yeah. And it was
It's for the future.
garnishing his future prize
No,
money as
he
well.
played in this major. Take the money away from him from this major. Give it to charity. I'm all for that. That's fine. Don't go too far though, right? There is a limit to what you need to be doing. And actually, you've missed the point. Where's the education? Where are you sending them on a course to learn about different cultures? Where's that? I mean, I don't see that. Same with Skem in a way as well.
Which would have been good, because it's not necessarily about these players. It's
No,
about who
like,
they speak
okay,
to.
I'm
right?
glad you've mentioned that as well, because I saw a lot of comments afterwards that Skem is now a racist. No, Skem is not a racist. He used racist language. That doesn't make him a racist.
Yeah.
We need to be clearer on that, right? Because he's not out there going, yeah, I hate all Chinese people, therefore I'm going to make racial slurs about China. He's not doing that. He said a word which he didn't understand was a racial slur. Right? He may have understood a little bit of it and thought he could get away with it. I don't know. But he definitely didn't mean any intentional bad feeling towards Chinese people by using that word. But he did. He did, right? So therefore he has to learn that. And when you look at his background and you look at his education, what country he's from, and you understand how he might think that, it's not impossible. It's not a leap of imagination to understand why he used that word the way he did. And again, I'll say it again, because people often clip these things. That doesn't condone it. That doesn't make it right. Right? I'm still against it. I'm still horrified by the kind of words that he used. Shouldn't be using them. But let's educate them. So there's both sides for me. I'm trying to see both sides. I've got friends on both sides of this as well. I've got teams and players, and I've got fans, people that enjoy my work as well. So it's a real balance for me in trying to see where this is and try and figure it out. The biggest issue I have with all of this, and the thing I got most upset with, is the local government interference.
Okay.
Because
yeah,
we're
we,
done
we
now.
need to come on to this because it
Absolutely,
escalated
we're done.
further.
We're done at the point of handing out punishments. Like Valve won't do it. The teams will do it and have done it. The apologies, yeah, okay, we can agree they might not be as vociferous as they should be, but they're done. End of story. We're done now. We're moving on. And East versus West doesn't need to be a divisive split anymore. We don't need the fans at each other's throats. We can now come together and unite around the fact that none of us like racism, regardless of who it's aimed at. But no, instead, the local government now want to block 2 players from not just competing, but they want them kicked off their teams. Like, what are you doing? Stop interfering.
Yeah,
nothing to do with you.
Catch up anyone watching. So for me, I saw Cyborg Matt tweets.
Yes.
And there were a few others saying that the local government had pressured the teams to get rid of these players, and said
the phrase. And
the thing is, though, you'll have much more information about this than me, and you've hinted.
I haven't got much more information, but I was actually. I've got to be careful because people have trusted me with information, so I don't really want to talk about who, but I was with some prominent members of the Dota community when they got this email, and I was handed a phone with the email unfiltered. No one stopped me from reading it, and I read through. And let me just, I don't know if I've got it on this.
Well, have a look.
But basically it said...
Well, first of all, so we got those tweets saying that the government was interfering, and then we got
it's important. The context is important because I feel a bit bad for Beef, for instance, who complexity might not have seen the same information I've seen, which is absurd because he's.
In fact, it was him that said
a manager
no.
at Complexity.
Yeah, he said no. Yeah. The government is not interfering. This is just us.
Right, and also it's down to interpretation as well. So I saw something which the person that showed it to me read the same way as I did. Now, we could both have read it wrong. I think it's unlikely. And someone else could have read that and interpreted it differently, and that could be Beef. And that's why we've all got a slightly different angle on this, or a completely different angle on it in some ways. So I don't think it's fair that the community berate Kyle from that point of view, because it just may be that he hasn't seen what I've seen, or it might be that we've seen the same thing or we've interpreted them differently. The key reason is it said... and I've really got to get the words absolutely correctly, but it said something like, I want to get it absolutely right before I go on camera and say it, but I will find it, and we'll talk about it more perhaps. But it was effectively, in my interpretation of it, was remove them or your team's not coming.
Yeah. That
was the end result of it. So then you're threatening them... and that they have to remove them from the team.
Yeah,
like I can't interpret that any other way.
Okay, and then this is where it gets messy.
Yeah.
It's because the local government is not the organizer of the tournament. They're not the publisher of the game. They're not a team. They're not. I mean, they're involved because we want local government to be involved in events.
Sure.
But it scares me to death that they are making these calls on. We think these 2 players haven't been punished enough. We want to punish them more. Yeah,
although let's also be realistic about this. How many people do you think are in the local government that understand esports, understand this situation fully? So I feel like it's probably pressure from fans on the local government that has led them to thinking, Christ, we have to do something about this. This is outrageous. We're upsetting an awful lot of our citizens, which I totally understand. You have to react to the people that you represent, right? No matter what type of style of government you've got. So in some ways, I feel like that's probably where the pressures come from. And I think a lot of other fans, Western fans, have said that as well. And that's why they're upset with the Chinese fans, because they feel like they're trying to take it too far. Now, the wheels of government, as far as I'm aware, in many countries, work very slowly. They turn very, very slowly indeed. So it's probably taken this length of time to process that information and for them to then make a decision.
I suppose, yeah.
Again, not condoning it, don't think it's right, don't think they should be involved, but that might be why we've had such a delay. If it had happened the same day as the teams handed out the fines, I might not have so much of an issue. Other than you're banning them from a future tournament, which is, at the time, 2.5 months away, that you have no ownership of or control of. I still have an issue with that. I'm not comfortable with that.
I was asked by Tim in our Luckbox team. He said, "Well, what's the difference between government not providing a visa then?
Right.
trying to think of a player who I don't know, talk about Bulldog in Canada.
There's been plenty of players in the past.
But players have not had visas.
Yeah.
Is there any difference? Government's always involved in who's allowed in.
But there is, because the visa process is independent of esports. It's independent of your actions. It's independent of that team. It's independent of your brand. It's based purely on a set of rules, regulations, and guidelines. And if you meet them, you get in.
Yeah.
If you don't meet them, you don't get in. They aren't arbitrary decisions based on whether you've used particular language in a Dota 2 match. That visas are not done on that basis. Obviously, if you have... I don't know, for instance, Russia is very sensitive for this when you apply for the visa. If you have slated Russia in your social media, you have to give them your social media when you apply for a visa, right?
Right.
And so they have the right to go through your social media. And if you have been particularly offensive towards Russia, then they have the right to turn your visa down, right?
Putin's biggest critic.
Absolutely. Then they have the right, because that's their visa process. Now, you might not agree with that, I might not agree with it, but that is their right for your entry into that country. It doesn't... mean you can't play Dota 2 against Russian teams, or online against Russian teams, or with Russian players, or with Ukrainian players. It doesn't mean any of those things, right?
Yeah.
But it does mean you can't get in. So therefore you can't then compete in the tournament. Is that what they're saying? Is that what the local government have said, that they'll turn down any visas from these players? Probably. The detail is probably, the devil is in the detail of that. But that's pretty extreme.
And there's no way the organiser will want to go against.
No, and that's part of the problem,
anyway.
isn't it? Is that I don't know if the pressure came from Chinese fans to local government to organiser to teams who then were like, well, okay, yeah, fine, we'll go along with it because we've got no choice, really. Teams won't have any choice other than to raise up against it, which doesn't make them look professional, makes it look like they're defending racism, which they never want to be able to do with their brand. So I don't blame them either. So then we come back to, well, then it's with the organiser then, and the organiser doesn't want any trouble, right? They're going to be performing an event in a country which they're not regularly doing stuff in.
Do you know who the organiser is for?
I don't know if it's public. I think.
Okay,
no, it should be.
Fine.
It should be, but okay, whatever. But it's not a local organiser, right? It's not someone who's local to this area or this country. So therefore, they want to be careful. And obviously, they don't want a bad-tempered major either. They want the major to be successful and for people to come along and cheer on all of the teams, not just the Chinese teams. And to do that, they may have felt that they needed to do something too, which again, I completely understand. Don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand.
And I see, the thing is, I love the rivalry between West and China because in the game, it's beautiful to watch. It's actually like you've got a team to support and you can grudgingly admire the ruthless efficiency of your opponents, but every so often you win, sometimes you lose, but it's fun. But what we've got to now is this kind of abrasive relationship between China and the West.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is players are saying, look, I hear this all the time in pub games. It's normal. Why are Chinese people getting all upset about this? And they're being very dismissive about the fact that Chinese people were offended by this stuff. Which is not particularly helpful, I don't think. No. I don't think comparing people's public behaviour with people's behaviour when they're kind of anonymous, they're playing public games and they are a bit ridiculous, and that's actually not all right either. We're not very good at fighting off the sort of bad language in public games. But I think I mentioned this with Thorin. It's like when you're a pro gamer, you're representing a team, you're representing your fans, you're representing a whole lot of things. Yeah. You suddenly, you have a whole lot more responsibility. Yeah. You are a role model now. And you cannot do that. You absolutely cannot do that. So,
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's you're right. It's frustrating when you see fans from the West all complaining that, well, Chinese people do it. They call us white pigs in tournaments. Well, okay, sure, but I've never seen that in a tournament. So, but how do you want us to police that exactly? That's tough to police. I'm not saying it's right again, but it's really hard to police. And then likewise, Chinese people are saying, well, yeah, but we have foreigners on our servers, being racist all the time. So, yeah, it is something that happens all around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. If you go and play in the Philippines, for instance, the kind of language that some of the Filipino fans use, I can see why people would be offended, right? I personally care about it, but it does seem offensive. To others, it probably wouldn't. Come over to the Europeans, and what you'll see is a lot of flame towards Russian players, right? Bloody Russians!
You
my bloody game again.
You have to be thick-skinned to play in
you
online.
You do, right? You do need a bit of thick skin, but at the same time, those two things aren't comparable. Yeah. They aren't comparable to comparing, me kicking a ball about with jumpers as goalpost with you, right, down the park, and us shouting and screaming abuse at each other because we're messing around on a football park, right? Yeah. To an outsider walking past, they might think, bloody hell, a bunch of racists, right? That might seem like that way because of the way that we're colloquially talking within our little group of people. Does that matter in the grand scheme of football? Is FIFA going to fine me and you for playing football over the park with jumpers as goalposts when we're shouting an abusive word at each other? No, they're not, right? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Same way as, half the people doing this I'm not saying that we should ignore it, but that's not a problem that we can solve, right? The problem we can solve is stopping professional players, therefore role models, acting like dickheads all the time and being racist. We can do something about that, so we should be doing something about it.
Yeah. We're tying ourselves in knots a little bit trying to find a solution. But really, you mentioned in this in your article, it's all about leadership, isn't it?
I think it is, and I don't blame Valve for the way that they've handled the game. Well, because I think the problem is if you want more control, you go down the road of Riot. And I think Riot have done an amazing job with their esports, but I do think they're a bit heavy-handed. I think they are a bit too control freaky for me, and sometimes that has its benefits.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Sometimes it doesn't.
I'm looking at the situation now, and I'm thinking, wow, I was quite harsh on Riot.
But now, what would have happened if these two had made the same mistakes under Riot? They've both been given a couple of $1,000 fines. They've been told to shut up. They've been sent on a course. And everyone would have been
public.
Well done, Riot. Well done, Riot. That's really good. Well done. You've done really well. So, okay, maybe we need to learn something from the way that Riot does things and the way that Blizzard does things. And I don't want to lose what we've got that Valve have given us quite graciously. They are a company who they have a flat structure internally. They build incredible games. They know how to build video games, and they know that, right? They've never pretended to be experts on esports. They've never said they want to be the governing body, even though actually, de facto, they are the governing body. Whether they like it or not, they are the governing body in the end because it's their IP. It's their brand. And it's their game. So at some point, they're going to have to figure out how they straddle that line. But I don't think they've straddled that line very well because sometimes they dip in, sometimes they stay out. And the bonus to us, the benefit to our community, if you like, is that we get to run all these great third-party events. We don't really care too much about the licensing side of it. Valve are very loose with licensing. They give away broadcast rights on a regular basis for the international. They don't sponsor their tournaments when they run big tournaments. There's so many great things that happen because of the way that Valve deal with their esports, right? Both in Counter-Strike and in Dota 2. Yeah. One of the downsides, however, is when we need someone to be there, when we need a strong voice to cut through all the emotion, because we're also emotion-riddled. This has been a very emotional topic for many people, right? And emotion clouds the judgment. We're not going to make sensible decisions unless we have a strong leader or group of people or commissioner or whatever it might be that stands at the top and says, no more. This is how we're going to do things. And it doesn't have to be heavy-handed all the time. It just needs to be when things flare up. It needs to have a sensible set of rules, for example. And I'm not talking about, really minutiae, you will be in the lobby 3 minutes and 56 seconds before the draft and all this. Players know how to do that stuff, right? They're very rarely are they late. Occasionally get a slap on the wrist from the organiser, holding up our broadcast, get the bloody hell in the server. That's fine, right? I'm talking about really critical stuff. Broken fair play against the rules. Abusing bugs in games, tricky because there are some bugs and we know there are, and actually you block a little bit of innovation about that side of it. So that's a tough one, but we can talk about it. Talk to the players, find out what they think should be in a rule book for players. Get them to write it effectively. Get them to write it, right?
Yeah, but that's where you need the leadership because I've seen people try to organise player associations or general associations that represent the industry, but then you have factions and people don't want to cooperate so easily and say, well, this organisation has too much of a hand in the body, so now I don't want to recognise it because then I'm throwing away my power. And, people get very difficult about it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's still a bit of a land grab, isn't it? Esports, that's why, and people are still figuring out who's who. Even if we've known each other, some of us, for 10, 15 years, we're still trying to figure out what our end game is. I think the majority of those people, like myself, like you, Thorin, Scoots, Richard, Adam, Apicella, Ralph, all these guys that have been involved in this for 15 years plus, I think we all know that we're still here. I've been in this a long time. Right? It was never about the money for us initially. It's partly about the money now, for sure, because we have to live and we have to grow. And I think actually we're due our reward for the things that we've done in esports. But I'll always take authenticity over money. I'll always say, yeah, this looks good because it looks good for the fans or the players or the teams, rather than say, yeah, this looks good because it's £5 million, you know. And I think all of those people I mentioned are like that as well. Yeah, we'd all love to get rich. There's no doubt about it. And we'd love to get rich doing something we absolutely adore and love and work in an industry which we've helped build. But at the same time, you have to call the bullshit out when it comes up, and we've been doing that recently as well. As anyone that's followed me on Twitter will know. But getting back to the Valve thing, I think it's difficult for them. I think more difficult than most people realise. They are not built to run and control esports the way that we've seen others do it. They aren't built that way. So my suggestion was, maybe we appoint a commissioner, but maybe we don't get Valve to do that. Maybe we do that. Maybe that's the democracy that Valve have created. Maybe you stand as a runner. Maybe I stand as a runner. Maybe PPD stands as a runner. And we put forward our thoughts on how the Dota scene should be policed and managed and regulated to a degree. Not everything, but to a degree. And then we put that to a vote, and we let the Dota community vote. And then we appoint someone. The community appoints a Dota 2 commissioner. Then we get Valve to say, look, we've appointed this person as someone we trust and respect and honour, and we think they can bring the best out of professional side of Dota 2. Please, would you accept them as our commissioner, as our go-between?
Just need a nod from
Absolutely.
Valve.
Nod from Valve, say, yep, that's fine. Not looking for approval, not looking for payment. We'll fund it a different way. But that person is now in charge of the professional side of Dota 2, right? That's democracy in action. It's what Valve love us doing. They love us getting on with it ourselves. But then you just give them a little bit of Valve power, which allows them to go, okay, someone says in the industry, hey, we should have this rule because this, and this. And it makes total sense. And the fans are on board, the players are on board, and the teams are on board, and the orgs are on board. How do we get that implemented? Commissioner says, I agree with all of this. This is now part of our esport. Valve? And they go, well, if you say it is, then it is.
Yeah.
They have to trust that person to be able to do that. And there's nothing stopping us doing that right now.
Well, there is the thing that's stopping us is that the industry is broken up into different organisations, sure, some of which are rivals, and it's hard for them to agree on.
I'm talking about majors and TI. That's all I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
You can't police ESL and PGL and DreamHack outside of what they're doing. They are what they are, right? They're their own force. But if you have a commissioner, at least for the majors and TI, then you've got a circuit system.
Yeah.
That they are looking after, and the minors, obviously. So that's 11 events throughout a year. That's what they're looking after. That becomes the standard after a while.
Yeah.
If they all agree, no, this is how many teams you will have for these events. This is the rule book. This is the bracket system. This is playoffs. You will never run best of ones. You won't do, some certain things within this tournament. Eventually, that becomes the norm, right? And then that's what fans and players want. And that means that DreamHack and ESL will just have to follow suit if they want to please the fans.
Yeah, that makes sense. The thing that strikes me...
So you're running now, right?
I actually don't think I want that kind of responsibility.
I don't think I would either.
Job. You'd have to make calls on all sorts
Who do I
of
please?
things.
Do I please the fans? Do I please the players? Do I please the teams? What is my role?
Inevitably, you're going to not please everyone. You're going to make enemies.
Absolutely.
It would be a tough job.
Look at Mr. Goodall, NFL commissioner. Exactly that, right? Some
what
hate
happened?
him.
I actually
well, no, some hate him, some love him.
Yeah.
So, because he has to make those tough decisions on. Sometimes it affects players, sometimes it affects teams, sometimes it affects fans.
Yeah.
He has to make those decisions. It's a sad fact of his life, unfortunately. He will be very polarising as a figure. Maybe we get Thorin to do it.
Well, at least he doesn't mind getting hate from
quite
people. quite
the
enjoy
thickest
it.
skin I know in esports. But it's just an idea for discussion.
Yeah.
I don't really have the answer. I don't know what solves all of the issues. I don't think one thing solves all the issues.
But it does.
But I
feel
would like to see Valve more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just struck me now. It felt like Valve is this absent god that's sort of there.
Golf.
Every so often he'll drop in and say, "No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're an ass. You're fired," or something like that.
Yeah.
And whereas the Riot god is always there. He's always doing things, tinkering here, tinkering there. Says, "Oh no, don't do that.
Well,
don't do that."
I think the best analogy I heard the other day was that Riot are proactive and Valve are reactive. And whilst that sounds quite harsh in its isolation, I think it's mostly true. But I don't think that makes Valve a bad parent, and I don't think it makes Riot a great parent. I think there are bits of both worlds that we could definitely learn from.
we have one more subject. There's more controversy.
Yes.
Because another.
Can you just
incident
stop,
happened.
please? Can you just, we just have a drama-free week in those. What am I talking about?
Again, it's a
What am I
Chinese
talking
major.
about?
Yeah, and what happened was there's been regional qualifiers all over the world. They've been played over the last week, actually, and it's been quite interesting because there's a new patch, another subject we need to talk about.
Christ, yeah.
But what happened was in the South American qualifier, the old PayNext team, so this is CCNC's team.
Yeah. Team 123.
They're now called Team 123, I guess a temporary name. They won the qualifier. And then later were disqualified by Valve for not being South American enough.
Not being South American enough.
I guess so, because they dropped one of the Brazilian
Yeah, because they had
players.
2 originally and three North Americans. Now they have Lepozu is the only one they have now, which is, I think, they're one of 4. I think the split is now between Brazil and America, right?
I'm just going to open up the page so we can follow it. But yeah, it was... no mouse wheel on this. Awesome.
Oh.
So yes,
so four Americans and Lepozu from Brazil. So yeah, one Brazilian.
So I mean, you would look at that. You'd look at that and you say, you know what, you should be qualifying in North America. You got 4
Absolutely.
Americans and a Brazilian. You should be qualifying in North America.
Yep.
And what actually happened was that PPD had already inquired with Valve saying, as NIP, can I take part in the South American qualifiers?
Yeah, I think he was testing the water. I don't think they had any intention of doing that, but he was testing. Here's
the thing: the word that came back from Valve, I haven't got the exact quote, but Peter said something on the lines of, "If you feel this is wrong, it's probably cheating."
Yeah.
So there's no definitive.
No, absolutely.
This is how many players you need, or anything like that. It's like, do you think you're doing something wrong? If so, don't do it.
Yeah, and I don't. So a few points here. Firstly, I don't think that's what this team were doing. I don't think they sat there and went, ha, we can con Valve. And the reason I don't think that is because they previously had 2 Brazilians in the team.
They were a Brazilian team.
And they were a Brazilian organisation, more importantly, as well, PayNext, which fight out of South America. So there is plenty of evidence that suggests that they were in the right region to start with. You can argue about whether it should be 2 or 3 players in the team that should make it up. But again, we don't have any rules. We don't have any guidelines. We don't have any Valve definitions out there. We don't have a commissioner who says, thou shalt not enter the South American qualifiers unless you have a minimum of 3 players from South America. No one's saying that, right? So these guys are left to their own devices. I don't necessarily think they ignored what Peter had said, but they sort of thought it was okay. The problem they've had in 2 ways is they qualified for the previous major, right? As PayNext.
Yeah.
With only 2 South Americans. So they probably thought, oh, this is okay, this is fine, right? Why wouldn't they? Well, you learn from history.
I guess it's
so they go into the next one, and then, they have to make a change. That's a shame. The only one they can get is another North American. But they're still playing in the qualifiers that they played in for the previous one. They don't want to switch regions all of a sudden because they think... I'm just arguing for playing devil's advocate here, but why would they? Why would they suddenly think, oh crap, we have to switch regions? They just played in the same region they were. They then lost their pain branding, which then makes them look even less South American. Mm-hmm. Because my argument is this: if they played as PayNext during that major qualifier with 1 Brazilian and 4 North Americans, would they have been kicked out?
Actually, I'm not sure because...
No, because they've got a Brazilian organisation.
And their
so
fans
here's one of the other... And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. This has nothing to do with the teams or the players or thinking anyone's done anything wrong. Let's go back a season. Let's go back to TI8. Let's talk Optic Gaming now. Which region did they qualify from? North America. Arguably, and this is a big... Peter would tell me I'm wrong. Europe was easier to qualify for. Because some of the bigger teams were already qualified, right? No. Therefore, would Optic not have been better off in Europe? And guess what? They only had 2 North Americans as well. But the organisation they're playing for is North American. So therefore, is it... I'm asking the question because I don't know. Is it because the org is from that region you can play in that region? Or is it because of the majority of the players are from that region that you can play in the region? Now, if you look at their team, they had an Israeli, 2 Swedes, 2 North Americans. Which region do they play in? I'm not sure is the honest answer. The fact that they're with Optic, maybe that sways it. Maybe that means they play in North America. But then let's look at this season. Ninjas in Pyjamas. Peter's a North American. He's the captain. Is it a North American team? Absolutely not. It's got a Macedonian, an Israeli, a Dane and a German in the team, right? So which region do they play in? Because I really don't understand which region they go into. But NIP's genuinely a European team. and they do have Ace and Fata, so that's okay. So there's 3 big factors there, but they also have Neta, who's from Israel, and they have Saxa, who's from Macedonia, which don't really have their own strict regions. I don't know if are they Middle East Africa? Well, that doesn't exist in Dota 2. So are they Asia or are they Europe? Probably Europe if you're going to be sensible. So they've got 4 Europeans. So okay, fine. So they're a European, but we're still talking about it, right?
Yeah.
We're still having to think like, okay, we need to play in this. What happens if Peter says, no, this is an American team. I'm the captain. I want to play in North America. Do they get banned? Probably, right? Well, because he's already asked if they can play in South America, and that's been you probably cheat. Will Valve see it as cheating if they go to North America, a comparable region of competitiveness? Probably not. So where are the rules?
But this is the problem. Is the rules are not there.
Excuse me.
Yeah, this is the major problem. Now I remember years ago we used to have national teams, and there used to be a set rule saying there must be say 3 members of your team from this nation.
ESWC I think always said 3 of 5 have to be from the same country.
Yeah,
right?
and with the rules there and certain, it meant that then if someone was say switching players or picking their team,
if
or
someone's trying to bend the rules, you could see it.
Yeah, and
right, someone's trying to bend the rules now. I can't see it. I can't tell if Team 123 did that intentionally to bend the rules or not. I can't tell you.
But that's the thing.
And no one else can.
But if they had known the rules, they would have said, "Oh, we'd better not drop this Brazilian players because we can no longer."
Or here's what's better: before they played a single game, someone would have said to them, "Sorry, you can't play in this qualifier. You're going to have to go and play in one of the others." Don't wait till the end of the qualifier and they've won, and then ban them.
That's the worst thing.
For crying out loud! A commissioner would have said, any issues with which region you play, you come and speak to me. They go, Mr. Commish, we've only got 1 Brazilian now. We did have 2, but we've only got 1 now, and we've left our Brazilian organisation. Do we still play in South America? And he goes, actually, no, because the rules say you have to have at least 2 players or 3, or if you're not in the org, then you play in the other region.
Go play in North America.
And they go, okay, thanks, Mr. Commish, we'll go and play in North America. And no one is suffering then. Everyone's fine, everything works. The rules are clear. The commission's made a decision. Everyone knows where they stand, right?
I assume now they can't go. Right, full stop.
Well, they can't go
because
they can't go back in time. They're going to have to go for the. They're going to have to go for the minor now.
Yeah, it's.
I think.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah,
I would imagine they can qualify for the minor now. I don't. I'm not following everything. I watched last night. I've watched some of the other matches, but I can't follow the actual.
No, it's been a lot.
I'm pretty sure they can qualify through the minor still.
Oh, as in if they win the minor, they can then go. Oh,
yes.
Okay, of course.
If you win the minor, you definitely get in. But I think they can still qualify to get into the minor.
Right.
But they would have to do it, I would assume, through North America. Because here's the other thing with the ruling. They've only been kicked out. They haven't been told they must play in a different region. They've only been told they can't play in that region.
Yeah.
So are they allowed to play in Europe?
Yeah. And again, it comes down to this lack of leadership and...
yeah, it does.
Well, sorry, I'm making that sound like I'm being very critical of Valve, but in a way, that method of esports growth is what I'm used to over a long period of time.
That doesn't mean it's the best or right for every game, though. And that's why I always say I think Valve have done an incredible job for our scene in allowing us to build it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Unlike almost every other scene, which eventually gets taken over by bigger players and more money and what have you. I think CS is the only comparable, and guess what? Same people made it. So, there is something to be said about that. They've got 2 of the top 3 esports in the world right now. There must be something to that. Yeah. There must be something to their ecosystem that they've allowed to be built that says that's a good thing and it's healthy. But we're now moving towards a much more professional era of esports. We've got more scrutiny on us than ever before. There is more mainstream press covering us than ever before. And the last thing we need is our players, our representatives, our role models, the people that represent us as a community as well, out there in mainstream press called out as racist. We really don't want that.
Yeah. So
for me, it's time to do something a bit different or try something new. And I'm not saying I have the answers. I said that earlier on. But I think a commissioner appointed by us and the community isn't a bad idea. And then if it is a bad idea, tell me why. Send me a tweet or leave a Reddit message or do something and tell me why it's a bad idea. But come up with something else. Come up with something better because I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
And I'm voting Sujoy Roy for commissioner.
I have a job, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's half the problem, isn't it? All the people that could probably go and do this role all have really good jobs already, or are in very powerful positions.
Or, like I
esports
say,
and
realise
it's
not going to be an easy job.
No, it isn't.
But
it does. It comes back to the same thing, though, doesn't it? The two things we talked about, the race stuff, disqualification, all comes back to that leadership. Someone, something, some entity, even maybe a panel. I don't know. Maybe it's a panel of 5 people rather than one commissioner. Maybe it's a panel of 5.
Yeah.
You know, that can do an arbitrary, what would we call it, high court judges and, what have you. Maybe it's that model. I don't know.
Well, I spoke to Ian from ESIC as well, and the thing is, though, he's making really great progress in terms of anti-cheat and making sure there's not match fixing
drug
and
testing,
all sorts of
match fixing.
Lots of important things that needed to be done. But he's not universally accepted in esports. There are still organisations who are keeping him at arm's length.
Yeah. Well, I think his association with ESL hasn't helped.
Yeah.
I think people look at him and think that he's bought and paid for by ESL, and that's unfortunate. But it's also
unfortunate because
they need to understand that that's the issue, and therefore find a way of getting over that as well. So,
but that's the thing. Is like so ESIC couldn't step in and say let's set up some rules for the whole Dota organisation because nobody would accept that. They'd be like, well, we don't really trust you enough.
No, quite.
We're always gonna come back round to this unless Valve crown somebody.
Yes, or do it themselves.
How do you get that? How are you that recognised person? Or unless they do it internally, but somehow I don't see that happening. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm just going to appoint PPD. I'm just going to appoint him.
You know what though? I think as much as he's quite in your face, he's very he doesn't go easy on anybody. But I actually think he'd be very well respected as by most
difficult
people.
To figure out. From my point of view, Peter is smart. He's smart about the game. He thinks about the game in a different way to most people. And he thinks about it from different angles as well. And he's quite happy to be public about it and be wrong. I think that's the biggest thing is that many of us in esports are always scared to be too outrageous in case we're wrong. There's that fear of failure kind of kicks in, and Pier has none of that, right? And part of that is down to his character, part of that is down to his success. He's already been there, win a TI before you speak. He's done that, right? So he can speak. Yeah. He generally has a good grip on what's going on within the community and a reasonable voice for sanity most of the time. And he can be a bit salty, which I think is partly why we like him and partly why we hate him, all at the same time. So,
but he doesn't seem to be hiding his emotions. No, you can actually see what he thinks, and
he'll tell you what he thinks, and he'll tell it to your face as well as publicly. So, I would have no issues with Peter running for a commissioner's job if that's what he wanted to do. But the problem is, again, he's too embedded in the game.
Yeah,
he's not ready. I don't think he's ready to retire just yet. We need someone a bit older.
We've got another TI winner. How about Admiral Bulldog? He could be commissioner. What do you think?
I think we would just end up having the major memes tournaments and there wouldn't be any Dota played.
Yes.
And as much as I find that fun, I'd be also missing some actual Dota. We'd be playing 20 minutes, first 1 to 30k gold lead. That's what we'd be playing if Bulldog was in charge.
Yeah. And it would be a fight for the runes every 5 minutes, and that would
absolutely
be the only thing that counted.
No, there would be. I think he would persuade Valve to somehow add 20 different rune points in the map, and that would just be a rune thing, as well as then the teams win on the amount of pog champs they spam in chat between them. That's probably how they'd win the match.
Although he's very ban happy, I've noticed this. He's always banning people in his channel.
Well, you know what one of his phrases is, don't you?
What's that?
That's a ban, sir.
That's a ban, sir.
So not surprised.
One more subject. Now the thing is, I doubt you've had much time to play any Dota, but maybe you've watched.
No,
a bit.
I played like 3 games when I got back, and that was about it.
But we've had probably the most dramatic patch in Dota history.
Well, I don't know. 7.0 is pretty freaking crazy.
Recent history.
So since 7.0, for sure, it's the biggest patch change we've had in terms of the amount of stuff that's gone into the game.
This is Dota patch 7.20. It was about, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, just after Kuala Lumpur Major.
And they patched it with a B as well, not long afterwards, I think.
Because so much changed.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, the thing I noticed in my 3 games that I played and about the 50 games that I've watched so far is that PA is back.
Yeah.
Grimstroke's pretty bloody annoying as well, by the way.
But that's the thing is, I wouldn't want to make a list.
No, I mean, I've had 3
changed.
games, and I'm already coming out of it going, well, I have no idea what the meta is.
You know what?
No idea.
You know what it strikes me as? It reminds me, I remember earlier days of Dota with custom games. Sometimes you would get this outrageous stuff because someone will get in the coding and make something silly. It'd be like, oh, you can cast 10 of these now, and it causes a big explosion, and there's 6 illusions of you. And that's what they've done. They put it in the game.
It's bonkers.
They put bonkers stuff
but
in
here's what's funny and what's great about Dota all at the same time, it's bad and good at the same time, is that 3 months from now, right, someone will figure something out that we haven't found yet in this patch.
Yeah.
And it will be so broken that it will get patched within a week. Someone will find this. It'll be some crazy combo with Grimstroke and Techies plus PA or something. There'll be some weird combination of exactly the right timings with the right spells at the right time with certain items that will just break the entire game, right? And we don't know what it is. Right now, to this day, we don't know what it's going to be. But in 3 months from now, we will know what it is.
I've seen a few. One of them was Dazzle with an arcane rune who could keep casting
Shallow
Grey over and over again. And Brewmaster just critting ridiculously and being unkillable.
Which was already annoying before and now is obnoxious. So
there's all sorts of crazy stuff. And this is the thing. I don't want to go into any detail. There's no point because there's so much going on. But I don't know. I feel like the whole thing's shaken up. It's There's crazy things happening, and it is fun. It is fun.
I like it. I like the fact that we get a ton of pro players trying to figure out what's broken, what's great.
I tell you what, this is actually the favourite part of a game for me, is when something is fresh and you need to work out what's powerful. What's the power curve on this? How do you how do you beat this strategy? That's the interesting for me because it's very cerebral. It's like it's trying to theory craft.
Yeah, no, I see that, and I see the chaos is fun, but I also love the end of the last patch. It was a long time, right? And we were often thinking this has become stale. Now, from a pub point of view, absolutely, it was very boring in places. But from a pro point of view, I found that fascinating.
Oh, the competitive level.
Yeah, the drafting levels had become like freaking next level, right? You know, you get like a puppy versus PPD game, and you're just like, okay, where the hell is this going? What are they going to draft here? And then, well, if they do this, then this has to happen, and it does. And then, but if they do that, then that has to happen, and it doesn't. And you're like, oh my god, what is he doing? Like, he's playing Legion Commander as a support. What the hell? We didn't even realize that worked. 2-3 weeks ago, we didn't know that Brewmaster was a decent support. We didn't know.
Yeah,
right?
Team Secret, puppy pulls
yeah, absolutely.
out,
yeah, and then suddenly it becomes a popular thing, and everyone's doing it. Axe before that, there's been so many innovations within that long patch, right? That I never got bored with it. There were times when I sort of thought, oh, okay, it's just going to be this, this, and this, but it never was. There was always something that broke it up. There was always a team willing to let through a wisp here and there and see how they could play it against, and then there was another team that would always ban specific heroes all the time, and then suddenly they'd let one through and see whether they could beat it. The iteration was fabulous, and I'm sure we'll get back to that. But right now, it's
we're in the chaos right now.
We are literally in the Wild West at the moment. Like, no one knows. Like, you're going to roll into a town, pull out your Magnum, and actually the other guy's going to have a rocket launcher or something. Like, you just don't know how to deal with any of this stuff at the moment. It's fun to watch, fascinating to watch in some places, but yeah, it's bloody bonkers. I wouldn't want to be a pro player right now. I'd be doing and coaches, God, don't even talk to me about if you were a coach right now, I would have no hair left. Literally be pulling my hair out going, guys, let's draft the Grimstroke and the no, wait, no, that's not working anymore. Right, let's do Techie support, Terrorblade off lane, and Windrunner mid. Like, what'd you do? Like, I don't even understand what the meta is.
Okay,
and, coaches must be going crazy right now.
But for us, for fans,
it's
brilliant,
fantastic to watch. I was watching all last night on BTS, and
yeah, there's so much.
Some of the games were bonkers. Some of them, like the Vega team, I just like okay, yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. I suppose if this patch, which I feel has been coming for a while, Valve couldn't release it before Kuala Lumpur, obviously.
I didn't want to release it too soon.
There's never going to be a great time.
Hamburg, yeah, exactly. So I think it had to be when it had to be. The downside, of course, is that it was right in the middle of the online qualifiers.
Oh, was it played over 2 different patches then?
I don't know how many were, but it was right. You know, it was literally like 2 days after the major finished. So I know that the qualifiers were still going on. I don't know, they may have finished that weekend, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah. whatever. The point is that you finish the major on Sunday, and on Wednesday you're playing a different patch and you're qualifying for the next major.
Yeah. It's
where's your time to learn and test and iterate and.
But that's the thing. It had to happen at some point, and I
Of
think
course,
Valve said, "Look, we just got to bite the bullet.
Absolutely,
and let's get it out there.
Absolutely,
and we'll have to. Obviously, they've released.
Also,
A's and B's
I think
and
we get a
C's.
bit. We're a bit. What's the word? We kind of expect that Valve will do things based on the pro game, right? And we sometimes forget that there's millions of other players out there playing casually.
Yeah, that's where the money comes from.
That actually drives the
Valve.
entire business, right?
Yeah.
And also then, you've got to keep them happy. We talk about coaches being a tough game. We talk about the commissioner role being a tough game. Ice Frog's job is freaking possible, right? Because he has to balance the game for the pros and for the casuals, right? And you can never please both of those. Like, if you nerf something in the pro level, the guys downstairs are like, why have they nerfed that? It was already terrible.
Yeah.
That's insane. And then something that's really OP, like, I don't know, it's like a Ricky, right? Ricky is ridiculous at my level, right? It has been for months before the patch.
Because it's impossible to buy detection.
Absolutely. But hear me out, right? I hear you, but I'm a poor man 6,
No, it's
right?
true. You're
I'm
right.
a poor man 6. I can't deal with stuff like that. So, Ricky's a nightmare. He's obnoxious at my kind of level, which is very low, by the way. He's obnoxious, right? And what has he done about that? Nothing, right? Because he's terrible in pro games, or he was terrible in pro games.
Can't
right?
lane in pro games.
So you can't lane him. So how does he balance that, right? If he nerfs him, well, then the public become kind of okay. But the pros are just going, well, he's not used before, and we're never using him ever again. If they buff him, great, pros are all ready, and they'll play him a little bit. But what are we doing down there? We're getting even more killed by invisible shit. Like, that's annoying as it is.
No, it's true.
I'm just bitter because I played Jakiro and the turn rate's terrible and I can't do anything about his vision.
Yeah, maybe pick a different hero. I think that might be
Wow.
it. Oh, well.
What a note. I think we should end because on that note, I can't be friends with Sujoy anymore. Anyone that's against Jakiro.
I like Jakiro.
You're a Jakiroist.
No, I like Jakiro.
He's a Jakiroist.
But I've got to say, though, the new patch has made me want to play again. And I haven't played much
I think
this year. So
the thing is, I hang around with a load of Dota nerds, right? And whenever we're in the green room at the end of a tournament, I always get the sense that all of us just want to go home and play.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, everyone in the room is just like, I'm going to go home and play some Red Dead Redemption. Feeding away on Dota. I was like, I'm going to go home and play some Forza Horizon. Feeding away on Dota. So, yeah.
At the end of the day, we are all nuts for the game. That's the problem. And we love it so much. This is why we can. This is why we want it to work. And hopefully we've learned something from this episode of Controversies.
I thought you meant from this episode.
Well,
it'd be unlikely with
from this
me and you, old men banging on about it. So we're like, basically right now, if you ever watched the Muppets in the early 80s, there was those two old cronies sitting in a balcony. This is basically the modern equivalent right now.
Yeah.
It is.
Chinese players causing problems. The local government shouldn't be involved. And we're with
the old crusties of esports, but we're fine with that.
It's fine. Well, thank you for joining me.
No problem. It's always a pleasure.
Crusty old crusty old.
It's nice, isn't it?
Esports people. I was going to say crusty old podcast, but our podcast is beautiful. It's just the two of us. Thanks for watching. We're also on Spotify, YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on Soundcloud as well. And check out Paul's column on the Luckbox website.
Yeah, do that
as well.
Shameless plug.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.